What's up, guys? Welcome back to the I don't know what I should call this. The studio, the fireside area in my bedroom, in front of the fake bearskin rug that I just think looks cool. And we're gonna talk about something. This is a part two of a video that I really didn't intend to make a part two of. But we're gonna call this one "So You Think You Want to Race Part 2." Okay, and hopefully we don't get interrupted here. My daughter will probably come storming in here and like, "Dad." All right. In my last shop update, I gave a kind of disjointed little bit of my story in a video that was just kind of a shop update. But in my first video, it was kind of me being pretty hard on myself, and that's not necessary, okay? I was a kid. All right. Now, I know that the fuel is high currently, okay? But the sport of auto racing survived an energy shortage in the 70s, a couple of world wars, and we're going to survive this time too. I mean, some of us are going to make it, some of us won't. I hope I make it. I'm going to try. If I got to cut it way back to part-time, I'm going to race part-time. I mean, I did it when I was in the Navy. I mean, run. If I can only run 6 times this year, then so be it. Okay. So you think you want to drive a race car. All right. We're not gonna talk about drag racing because I don't know anything about it. We're not gonna talk about rallycross because I don't know anything about it. You want to be a stock car driver, okay? Here's my story. My dad, he raced in the factory stock division, and then later on in the limited late model division. I guess sportsman cars, super stocks. It depends on where you are in the country. They're all named about the same thing. It was a Camaro clip on a tube frame. And I always, me and my brothers would help them, and that's how I kind of got started being a mechanic. And honestly, what ended leading me into my profession that I have today. Just always working on stuff and learning how to, I can build my own motors. I can do my own sheet metal. I do my own transmissions. I do my own gears. All right. So I go to school. I'm a work as an auto mechanic for a few years. Okay. Life's going nowhere. I joined the U.S. Navy when I'm 23, a little bit older. And first place I do is I go and get stationed in Japan. And I'm there for 5 years, Kitty Hawk Strike Group, and I come back home to Maryland. And I'm going to do shore duty there. I ended up kind of having to go to Iraq out of there to go help an Army Civil Affairs Battalion for about 15 months. But, well, anyway, in 2006, I went to Potomac Speedway and went and watched the races, and I found a division called the small junk cars. And that's a division that gets really kind of crapped on a lot in, dirt track and probably asphalt track social media stuff, all right? But I think it's a pretty good deal. Maybe the Crown Vic class would be another good option if you got one where you're at. But how does this relate to So You Think You Want to Race? This is what I did. I was about 27, 28 years old, had a young family, and when I saw that class, and I said, I can do this. I can afford this without taking food out of my family's mouth, all right? And I went and I looked around and I found a Plymouth Laser for $200. Actually, it was in the same housing complex I lived in. My big Kennedy toolbox that you see sometimes in my shop videos, it wasn't even in the I didn't even have it with me yet when I started doing this. I had a green Japanese socket set that I bought at a hardware store while I was there. I had some vice grips, some channel locks, a ball peen hammer, and an $80 flux core welder, and also a ton of mechanical experience. But I set to work gutting this car and covering it up with a car cover so I don't get, kicked out of base housing or anything like that, or get it towed away. And in the street, in the cul-de-sac, in front of my house, in front of my unit in base housing, I built this car. I didn't have a pickup truck. I didn't have a trailer. I would borrow a truck from somebody until I got my own a few years later, because I'd just been in Japan. I didn't even have a car when I got back to the United States to drive on the street. And I would go to MWR and I would rent a tow dolly every weekend that I got a chance to race. And they would charge, it was $25. Because I didn't even have a trailer. And now that is wanting to do it. You don't have enough money. Understandable. What are you doing to get enough money? Think about it for a minute, all right? There's if you watch NASCAR and you know the Keselowski brothers, Brad, former Cup champion, he's from my home track. And I thought that they had a lot of money when they showed up at Auto City Speedway, because his dad ran ARCA back when ARCA was like a long time ago. ARCA didn't used to be what it is today. All right, it was veterans. It was kind of the northern version of Cup at one point, before when even new car racing was still regionalized, you know. But he had two sons, Brad and Brian, and I'm gonna tell you what, Brad ended up getting a contract from Penske because he's a talent, man. He's a tenacious dude, you know, and Brian is too. But he never caught a break. But Brian, back in 10 years ago, he'd been running his own equipment in Busch, and and he bought this car. He built a car himself and made the doggone Daytona 500 with it. And famous last name or not, I can tell you this about Brian Keselowski. If Brian would have been named Tim Jones, and he would have been working in a junkyard in Flint on Dordt Highway, Brian Keselowski would have been a racer. He'd have figured out a way. My buddy Kevin Grizzle, another guy, he's won multiple track championships, lots and lots of features, and he never worked for anybody but himself doing body work. I mean, side jobs, and he'd worked for like John Balot, car dealer, and you know what I mean. He figured out how to do it. There's saying you want to race and proving you want to race. So if you just want to get started, get started. Figure it out. If you can take a part-time job, if you can do side jobs, if you can, you know what I mean? Junk cars. Scrap's going up. You're going to need a trailer. Get a trailer with a good, strong winch on it. and go start scrapping cars, man. $248 for one now. I mean, gut that sucker down, get all the aluminum out of it and sell it separate. But there's ways to do it. You can do it. And that's all we're going to do for today. Thanks for watching, guys. Later.